Today, key groups from the justice system met to review a proposed draft law focused on DNA evidence. According to UNDP Representative Amelin Mendez, the goal of the bill is to improve how DNA evidence is collected, filed, and used.
With DNA legislation in place, it embodies the National Forensic Science Services to be able to create a DNA database. What does that mean then for you if you have a matter on hand? If you're the victim, you'll be able to get justice in a more timely manner. If you're a suspected person of a crime and your DNA does not match, you would not have to be on remand, right? Because it's clear that you're not guilty for any of these crimes.
The UNDP has been a longtime partner of the National Forensic Science Services. In 2024, the UN agency helped upgrade the lab's information management system, making the evidence process digital. Executive Director Jian Cho explained how the system will work according to international standards once the law is passed by the end of this year.
When you collect people's genetic data, when you store it, when you search it, we need to make sure that we have regulations or laws in place that governs how that's used. So how a national DNA database is established, how DNA samples are collected from individuals who are suspected to have committed offenses in a manner that respects their bodily integrity, their privacy, their dignity. How searches of that database is conducted, who has access to the database, what we do with any matches that come from the database, who are authorized to enter profiles into the database, how profiles are generated. So all of these requirements to ensure the safeguard of human genetic data, the standards of searching and how we determine a match are in line with the international requirements and what we know other countries have in their legislation. As well as oversight for such a database.
Cho explained that even though the system will be in place for investigators to get certain DNA samples from suspects, a judge would have to decide whether the sample will be given by force. Cho emphasized that it's crucial to ensure people's constitutional rights are respected throughout the process.
The process or the procedure to obtain a DNA sample from an individual. When consent is not given by the individual, what would be the processes that the authorities follow, which would be to obtain a court order. Once certain thresholds are met, the investigator, a senior rank inspector and above, would have to issue or make the request to a magistrate to issue a court order to collect a DNA sample if the person does not give consent. So we're looking at consent first.
Ultra-sensitive issues, such as how minors are treated, whether they are the victim or the perpetrator, are also covered in the legislation.
When minors are victims, or when minors are suspects, or when parents of minors might be involved. So we have to look at how court order is given in those individuals and in those instances. And the bill speaks all of those different circumstances when a court order would be needed, and for what would be considered reasonable cause to obtain a court order, what would be instances where reasonable force can be used to obtain the DNA sample. And in most instances, it would be a cheek swab that we're obtaining.
It's still unclear if this new legislation will boost conviction rates. The reform of the justice system through this bill is just one part of a larger project called PH Justice, supported by the UNDP and funded by the European Union with a budget of over $3 million. This project also included digitization of the magistrates and high courts. Once the relevant parties agree on the draft's bill contents, it will be presented to Cabinet for approval before going to the National Assembly. Reporting for News 5, I'm Marion Ali.